Toronto and Vancouver get all of the attention, but in 2025, more and more people are quietly moving to Edmonton. And it's not just about cost. There's a lot that you haven't been told about what it's like to move here, both the opportunities and the tough adjustments. Stick with me because today I'm pulling back the curtain. Hey, what's going on, everybody? I am Tristan, a full-time Edmonton-based realtor. And when I talk about what it's like to move across the country, I'm not just pulling from market stats or secondhand stories. I've been in Edmonton for almost 7 years, but my time in the military and playing baseball took me all over Canada and even the US. I grew up in Saskatchewan, Regina specifically, but I spent a lot of time in Saskatoon as well. I played college baseball in New Westminster, BC in the NWAC League, spent time in Manitoba and Seattle chasing the sport. The military had me living in Quebec and Ontario for a few months each. And before all that, I was living in Calgary, where my mom still is, right before enlisting. So I know what it's like to pack up and find home from scratch. So if you're considering Edmonton as your next move, whether it's for affordability, lifestyle, or just a fresh start, this is your full guide to what that actually looks like and feels like in 2025. Okay, let's break this down with some real numbers. If you're looking at Vancouver in 2025, the average home price is sitting around $1.2 million. In Toronto, you're looking at just over $1 million for a similar property. And that's not even getting you luxury. That's starter territory in some of these different areas. Now, compare that to Edmonton. We're hovering just over $430,000 on average. And with a $500K budget, you're not just squeezing into a starter condo or giving up on space, you're leveling up. What that actually means here in Edmonton is a detached home, not semi-detached, not stacked, but fully detached. You'll get a decent sized backyard for your kids, your dog, your summer barbecues, and a double garage. Sometimes it'll even be heated, and you might even get some extra room for a workshop. Many of these homes come with a finished basement, and quite a few are set up for income suites. So you're not just buying a home, you're potentially building some equity and creating some cash flow as well. And the cherry on top, you're not gonna be commuting for an hour and a half to find that kind of value. Edmonton's layout means that you can live easily between 20 and 30 minutes from the downtown core and still enjoy quiet, safe neighborhoods with real breathing room. But it's not just the sticker price of the house. The entire cost of living here, it hits differently. Utilities in Alberta are often lower thanks to deregulated energy markets. Car insurance, on average, is half the price of what you're paying in Ontario. Groceries, gas, property taxes all come in lower than major metros out east or on the coast. When I work with clients that are relocating from BC or Ontario, I hear the same thing almost every time. It feels like I just got a raise without changing jobs. That's the kind of breathing room that lets people finally save, invest, and live. So if you could trade sky-high mortgage payments for more freedom each month, what would you actually spend your money on? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm always curious what people's priorities are when they finally have those options. Okay, so now let's take a look at what $500,000 can actually get you in Edmonton. So first things first, I'm gonna start up a residential search. So we got single family, what's active. Let's not take a look at what's pending right now. High, 500,000. Building type, detached single family. We'll look just specifically in Edmonton. So 373 options. So obviously you're gonna have quite a few different things to take a look at and pick between. And just to make this a little bit more clear, I'm just going to put a minimum price of 400 in. So still lots of options down to 249. So as you can see right at the top of this budget here, there's a ton of really great options. What you'll notice right off the bat is you're kind of in that 3 to 5 bedroom range. And a lot of these places have more than 2 bathrooms. You have some new builds, some older builds as well. But a lot of these options are gonna have a fully finished basement as well. Looking over here, almost every option has a double garage, whether it's attached or detached. And there's still a few that has no garage at all, but those are a little bit more rare in this price range. Let's take a look at some of these houses. So looking at this place in Edgemont, right at the top of the budget there, $499,900 gets you almost 1,600 square feet above grade. This one's an unfinished basement. but it is a newer build built in 2023. So let's take a look at some of these photos and see. Yeah, so as you can see, a nice newer build. Looks like a nice open layout as soon as you come in, which is really nice. So heading upstairs, you can see primary bedroom is a really good size, a nice ensuite bathroom, really nice walk-in closet here, and some other pretty good sized bedrooms as well. This is the main bathroom, so good size, laundry room as well upstairs, and a final bedroom on the top floor here. Another good sized bedroom. Decent sized yard as well. As you can see, it looks like they went with turf instead of actual grass, so lower maintenance, which is kind of nice. There's that detached double garage in the back here, so still a good amount of space. Let's take a look at some other options here. Okay, here we have an 1,800 square foot 4-level split in Ormsby Place. So we got 5 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms, built in 1978. So you're gonna get that fully finished basement. Okay, so I pulled this listing up. As you can see, 1,800 square feet above grade. Huge lot, 671 square meters here. Let's take a look at some pictures. So in good shape from the outside, good landscaping, nice floors, really open as soon as you walk in. Cabinets look like they're in good shape. Kitchen floor looks like it's in good shape. So upstairs, I'm assuming this is the primary bedroom, really good size. So you got an ensuite here, walk-in closet over here. This is likely the main bathroom on the upper level. Looks recently renovated. It's in good shape for sure. A spare bedroom. This has got to be the main bathroom. This is kind of the first lower level kind of designated living room, which is really nice about these 4-level splits. So another good size. Looks like another one of those 5 bedrooms right here. And the lower level here, fully finished. Looks like it's in good shape. Another second living room. And as you can see, the garage it's partly finished. It's a good size. Double attached, which is really convenient, really nice. So this is a really nice house that you can get for under $500,000 in Edmonton right now. Now, let's go ahead and compare that to what $500,000 gets you in Toronto. So we put in a max price, $500,000 here. First thing that you're gonna notice straight away is it looks like it's all condos. So we'll click this first one, which is relatively the same price. So as you can see, you get 1 bedroom plus, I think that would be a den, and only 1 bathroom. Scrolling down a bit here, it says no garage, but the picture seems to have a parking garage entrance. So I'm gonna assume that there is a garage potentially, but coming into the unit, I mean, it's well done for sure. It's a newer unit. It's in good shape for sure, but I mean, obviously it's a lot smaller than the 5-bedroom house that you could get for the same price in Edmonton. Now let's compare this to Vancouver and see what $500,000 gets us in this city. Okay, so let's take a look at this first listing here. It's a little bit cheaper than what we saw in Toronto and in Edmonton, but 470 square feet, 1 bathroom, and this place is actually a studio, so there's no other rooms beside what you're seeing here. So not very comparable to Toronto or Edmonton. Let's see if we can find a better option here. So obviously this is in a really nice area in Vancouver from the looks of things. It's got 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, 400 square feet. Let's take a look at some of these pictures just to give you an idea. So kind of built out like a studio, to be honest. Pretty small compared to what we've seen in Edmonton. Not too sure how big the one in Toronto was. It wasn't listed, but if we go back to what we were comparing it to here in Edmonton, you can see that it's quite a big difference. This listing in Edmonton here, you get a pie-shaped lot, 671 square meters and 1,800 square foot of living space. I mean, it's really hard to compare when you can buy a detached home for the same price point that only gets you a condo in Toronto and Vancouver. Let's be real. Edmonton handles winter differently than Ontario or BC. And if you're relocating, it's something that you'll want to be ready for. Unlike Ontario, where road salt is used aggressively to melt snow and ice, Edmonton relies mostly on sand and gravel. And it helps with traction, but it doesn't actually melt anything. So what happens is the snow gets compacted and many neighborhood streets stay covered for weeks or even months. Main roads are usually cleared fairly quickly and efficiently, but side streets, alleys, and cul-de-sacs can feel rough and slippery, especially after a big snowfall. And then there's the windrows, those big icy snowbanks pushed to the edge of the street. They're not the end of the world, but they do make things like street parking or turning out of a driveway a little bit more frustrating. But here's the part that surprises most people. In the spring, when all the snow and ice starts melting, that leftover gravel doesn't just disappear. It gets kicked up onto the roads and the highways, turning into a wave of tiny little projectiles. That's when windshield rock chip season kicks in. Gravel flying off car tires cracks windshields fast. In fact, it's so common here that most people here carry full glass coverage on their auto insurance. It's cheap and it saves you a lot of hassle. It's not a deal breaker, but it's a trade-off that's worth knowing. Of course, the city does a spring sweep, but chances are that you're going to get a rock chip on your windshield before that happens. You can put up with the compact snow in the winter and maybe replace a windshield or two in the spring, but in return, you get a detached home, a yard, a garage, and the kind of space that most people from Ontario or BC only dream of for under $500,000. So here's the question. Would you take a couple of windshield chips a year if it meant upgrading your entire lifestyle? Let me know in the comments down below because I'm genuinely curious what matters most to you. Okay, now I want to talk about something that catches a lot of people off guard. Edmonton is geographically really big. So if you're coming from somewhere like Vancouver or Toronto, or you're in a really dense metropolitan area, this is gonna feel like a completely different world for you. The good news, however, is that Edmonton's street system is quite straightforward. You can see that almost everything is built out in this kind of grid pattern here. The numbered avenues and streets make it really easy to kind of get your bearings and get around in the city. But the most important thing here is that you choose a location based on your lifestyle needs. So if you're working downtown, you want to choose somewhere that's close to downtown because most people here experience commute times between 20 and 30 minutes. But if you're not careful, you can see those commute times kind of jump up crazy. So if you are working downtown and you want quick access without the skyscraper kind of buzz, then you're going to want to look at some of these central west neighborhoods right here, like Parkview, for example, Grosvenor. And these areas are really nice. They're mature. They've been around for a long time. And for those heading to the University of Alberta, then you're going to want to choose a neighborhood that's closer in proximity to the university. So you'll think areas like Garneau, Belgravia, Queen Alexandra. Some of these areas are really nice. They're mature again. Some of these areas that are really close to the university are going to get a little bit more expensive, of course. But these areas offer you close proximity to the University of Alberta as well as White Avenue. And if you're a family looking for strong school zones, playgrounds, and newer builds, then Secord, Chappelle, and Windermere are consistently popular picks. So Secord, you'll notice over here on the west side, this is kind of a newer area, extremely popular. Lots of schools, lots of little parks, stuff like that. Windermere down here, this is definitely one of the more desirable spots in the city. You get access to the river valley, lots of golf courses, lots of green space, ponds, stuff like that. A good amount of shopping here. But again, this is one of the more expensive areas, more desirable areas in the city. And for Chappelle, you're a little bit more south than Windermere, but again, a really nice area, very desirable. Not quite as expensive as Windermere, but it can get a little bit more expensive depending on your needs. Again, a ton of green space. You got tiny little creeks and rivers flowing all the way through the community. You have ponds, parks, good amount of schools here too. And so these neighborhoods end up being popular picks with young families. So another huge advantage that we have here in Edmonton is the Anthony Henday. So if you kind of notice a picture of the map, we got this giant freeway that goes all the way around the city. That's the Anthony Henday. And for the most part, you're likely going to have to use this road almost on a daily basis. It makes commuting a lot easier. You're able to travel this distance a lot faster, provided that traffic is okay. And here's where things kind of get a little bit more interesting, because if you're just Googling the best Edmonton neighborhoods, then you're probably missing out on some of the city's hidden gems. The ones that don't always show up on the top 10 lists, but offer insane value. Take Beverly, for example. It's super budget friendly with oversized lots and lots of access to parks and the River Valley's walking trails. Grosvenor, on the other hand, gives you that same proximity to downtown that Glenora offers, but without that $1 million price tag. And then you got areas like Ritchie, which has quietly become one of the most walkable, food-forward areas in the whole city. So as you can probably start to tell, each of these neighborhoods all have their own vibe, but what they all share in common is value. You're not just buying a home here, you're buying into a lifestyle, a community, and a place that's generating some momentum. These are the kind of spots that people who get in early tend to do pretty well over time. So let me throw a quick question your way. What is your ideal commute time and what would you trade for it? Leave your answer down in the comments below. I'm curious to see what your thoughts are on this. Now, here's the stuff that nobody warns you about though. Property taxes here can be a little bit higher than you'd expect, especially compared to what you're saving on income tax. Basement suites are great in theory, but not all areas are zoned for them, so you always need to check that out. HOAs in new communities often come with rules, paint colors, RV restrictions, landscaping policies, so read the fine print. And not all homes are winterproof. South-facing driveways look great until they turn into ice rinks. This is why it's so important to work with somebody who knows the city. I help my clients avoid these headaches so they don't just buy a house, they buy smart. All right, if you've made it this far, then thank you. Seriously, my goal with every video is to give you the kind of insight that I wish I had when I was relocating across the country or helping friends and family figure out where home should be. If this helped you understand Edmonton just a little bit better, or if it opened your eyes to some of the trade-offs and hidden gems that don't show up in a quick Google search, do me a solid and hit that subscribe button. I've got way more deep dive videos coming on neighborhoods, costs, and exactly how to make your move stress-free. Oh, and one last thing before you go, if you want to avoid the most common and expensive mistakes that buyers make in this market, check out this next video right here, and trust me, it could save you thousands. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.